Alright, it feels like it's been forever since I made a video for this series, and nonetheless, there ain't much to say for the intro. The title is self-explanatory. They're wearing my weird, charming, witty, goofy, and idiotic humor. You know what we're about to get ourselves into. But I will say, if you are new here, I suggest starting with those Halloween episodes, so you can get a better understanding of this series, while also seeing the evolution of it. With all that out the way, let's get into it. That's So Raven, Zack and Cody, Hannah Montana's crossover episode. Come on, when you think of crossovers, this is one of the first ones that come to mind. I don't even need to summarize it. I do have a bone to pick with this. I need to expose the things I learned after rewatching this fraudulent special. It was a sham, a wolf in sheep's clothing. They fooled us, they pulled the wool over our eyes. This was a quote-unquote 3-part special. The first part was That's So Raven mixed in with Zack and Cody. Alright, cool. Then the second part was Zack and Cody with the episode titled That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana. Okay, dope, that's exciting. You can have Raven, Zack and Cody and Hannah Montana interacting with each other? No. What this really should have been called is That's So Sweet Life of Scamma Montana, because Hannah was only a part of this for only 1 minute and 40 seconds.
No. Yes. No.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led us. We've been duped. Bamboozled.
We've been smeckledorfed.
Now you're probably wondering, what about the third part? Hannah Montana's episode is just 3 minutes and 10 seconds of Hannah in a hotel room getting ready to leave the Tipton and talking to Maddie. And then it's just a regular episode of Hannah Montana. You know what the worst part of all this is? If you've been paying attention to the footage, you may have caught on to it. Or maybe you already knew about this. But the worst thing about all this, and it's kind of funny, is that Hannah wasn't in the same shot as London, Maddie, and Raven. They weren't even on set at the same time. When Hannah passes by them, you could tell it's special effects. And when her ring gets caught on his dress, it's not even Brenda's songs. I never knew about this until rewatching it. Who co-signed this? Who let this happen and for what reason? Outside of that shenanigans, the first 2 parts are fine.
Oh, thank you.
Yo, you're fucking weirdo. You're so fucking weird. What the fuck? Yo, somebody got locked. Nah. Yeah, the second episode is way better. Next, please. The Simpsons X-Files crossover episode. You have Homer, who is too drunk to drive, so he has no choice but to walk home. As he is walking, he starts to get spooked. After coming across a sign that says diet, he ends up running into the woods, if you even can call it running, and he somehow trips. Then a green glowing being appears in front of him. Of course, he runs away screaming. This makes headlines in the newspaper. So Mulder tells Scully that they have to go investigate this. They interrogate Homer and run some tests on him. They have him recreate everything he did that night. At a certain point, Scully just wants Homer to show them where he saw the supposed alien. Yeah, after Homer's father comes out the bushes, Scully is over and annoyed. She tells Mulder it's time to get the fuck up out of here. Well, at the end, it's revealed that the supposed alien was just Mr. Burns after his weekly medical treatment. I don't know. Now this episode, I like how David Duchovny was playing this goofy kind of airhead version of Mulder and was making fun of his live action counterpart. Like he really played in with obsession about the unknown and what could be out there. And for some reason, he had a picture of himself in a Speedo. Yeah. Also, I need to talk about the medical treatment Mr. Burns goes through. What the fuck? This is supposed to somehow prolong his life? This man is high out of his goddamn mind. His eyebrows dilate the hell out of them, and I'm not gonna lie, no cap, no kizzy. When it got to this point, I thought the doc was gonna jam his dick down his throat. Come on, you can't tell me he don't look like he about to whip out his schmeat. Anyways, I honestly would have never expected seeing a crossover like this, but when I think about it, it does make sense when you have Kang and Kodos, which one of them does make a brief appearance. When I was looking this stuff up, I thought it was gonna be some kind of gag or cutaway joke. I will say this episode was a little disappointing, not because it was bad or anything, but because the crossover is short-lived. Mulder and Scully were only part of the episode for 4 minutes, and like 10 seconds when they returned at the end for the singing. I just would have loved to see more screen time from them. Next episode, Power Rangers TMNT crossover episode. There really isn't much to summarize. It's a pretty simplistic storyline. You have Ashama, who summoned the turtles to wherever the hell the Power Rangers reside at. She tells them that they work for her now and to go attack the Power Rangers. They tell her, no way, dude. So she brainwashes them. A few moments later, after helping the Rangers, the brainwashed turtles convince them to let them on their ship. And then they hijack and hack the ship to let Ashama board it. She almost succeeds in her plan in capturing all the Rangers, but they escape down to Earth. And after going through an electrical storm, the brainwashed turtles return to normal. They head down to Earth to help and team up with the Power Rangers to defeat Ashama's lackeys. I don't really have much thoughts on this episode. I think it is very dope to see a crossover like this. I unfortunately did not see this episode when I was a kid, and not even know this was a thing until a couple years ago. So I can only imagine how hype it was to see this. You know, this is your basic standard Power Rangers episode, mixed in with the charm of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's goofy, it's not too over the top, it progresses the story, and there's a few laughs to be had. But there are a few questionable things. Like for example, how were the Turtles able to hit the electro ball around without being shocked, especially with metal objects? Also, since when did the Rangers have telekinesis? I know I did not watch the entirety of the show, but I cannot recall this ever being a thing. But what really stood out to me was the turtle's mouths. Oh my god, it kind of weirded me out. On to the next. Okay, I know Scooby-Doo has many crossovers. But the majority of those are movies, and that's not what we're here for. There's 2 episodes I want to talk about. The first one's with Johnny Bravo. This is a short episode, so I don't really need to summarize much. You have Johnny whose car breaks down while on his way to his Aunt Jibba house, which honestly, I'm surprised he even knew how to drive. He tries to fix it, I think. The mystery machine pulls up. Johnny asks Scooby and the gang for a lift, but they're clueless until he mentions something about a haunted house. Then their dicks get hard. They go to the house, get chased around by a monster that turns out to be Johnny's aunt. The reason she did this was because she hates Johnny so much that she didn't want him to visit her anymore.
I was almost rid of him. And I would have done it too if it hadn't been for you meddling kids.
Scooby and the gang apologize to her. They make it up to her by tying Johnny to a tree. Damn. Now the episode. Even though it's part of Johnny's show, it plays out like a typical standard Scooby-Doo episode, with some minor differences. Fred, Daphne, and Velma aren't really acting like themselves, unless I missed something. But these motherfuckers are horny. Like, golly. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I was watching a video from the hub. I thought this was fake. I had to double check to make sure I wasn't about to watch something wild. Yo, the ghost fucking nutted on the damn head. Yo, what the fuck?
I mean, Scooby, you and Velma check upstairs, and Fred and I'll look in the basement.
Right. Okay, gang. Let's go.
What the fuck? Yo. This is not a real episode. What am I witnessing? Can we talk about Johnny's aunt? When did this hatred of her start? I need to know how long she was plotting and scheming to get him to never come back. Like, how bad do you have to hate someone to do something like this? I know Johnny is somewhat of a different breed, not in a good way. And if you look at his track record, actually, you know what? I don't blame her. You have to pray on his downfall. I don't have anything else to say about this episode, since it is a short one. But you know what I'm just realizing? The majority of Scooby-Doo villains are old elderly people. So how the hell are they out here keeping up with them? Are these motherfuckers track stars? Did they get gold in the Olympics? Bro, if you don't hit a little shimmy on their ass and pop their hip out of place, do a little juke move and break their goddamn ankles, then you'll know, oh, it's old man Jenkins. Duh. Okay, the second episode was Supernatural. This one is nutty. So you have Sam and Dean who have gotten a free TV from a pawn shop owner. Since they defeated a dinosaur plushie that came to life, the TV was the last piece for Dean's man cave. It turns out this isn't a normal TV though, because as he turns it on, him and Sam get sucked into it. They somehow end up in an episode of Scooby-Doo. As soon as Dean finds this out, he's on a mission to solve a different kind of mystery. They introduce themselves to the gang. In the meantime, until they can figure out what's going on, Sam and Dean tag along, and Dean realizes this is the episode where Scooby is supposed to inherit money if he is able to spend the night at a haunted mansion. Knowing how this episode plays out, Dean is enjoying himself, but all is not what it seems to be, because the man that is supposed to be attacked first is actually stabbed and murdered. Sam and Dean are shocked. Scooby and the gang, on the other hand, act like nothing is wrong, but in actuality, there's a real ghost murdering the other guests, and it turns out this episode was somehow haunted. At first, Scooby and the gang don't believe actual ghosts exist, but when they find out the ghost got hands, and Shaggy breaks his arm, then that's when they start to lose their shit. So they come up with a plan to capture the ghost, and we find out that it's actually the spirit of a young boy that is being used by the man responsible for the dinosaur, who also owns a lot of property around the pawn shop. Before returning to the real world, Sam and Dean tell Scooby and the gang that ghosts aren't real, that this was all just an elaborate plan by They return home and get the scam artist arrested. Now this episode, where do I even begin? Because this is also a goddamn horny episode. First off, we got Velma, who's apparently a tsundere towards Sam. She's all like, I didn't team up with you because of your big dumb broad shoulders or anything. I'm just making sure no one gets hurt by them. Unless, girl, someone get her some water. She even gives him a big smooch before he goes back to the real world. Then you have the main culprit, Dean, who as soon as he found out this was Scooby-Doo, he locked it in his mind that the mission was to TYB Fred's girl. His real and only goal was to steal Daphne's heart. Every chance he got, he was trying to put the moves on her.
So, Daphne, old drafty house, what say you and I bunk together?
Yo.
So, Daph,
Oh my
I
god.
usually don't have to do this, but what do you look for in a guy?
Oh my god.
How down bad do you gotta be? But I get it. Daphne is probably a lot of people's childhood cartoon crush. And there's one scene where everyone would have folded and done the same thing as Dean. Yo. Why are they? Yo, what the fuck? Why? Yo. What the fuck am I looking at? Bro, why did they have her arching her back like that? Like she got some... Yo, what the fuck? What are they doing? What am I watching? Whoever's idea that was, you're a nasty and dirty motherfucker. Outside of the horny stuff, this episode was funny and it was fire. I like how this is essentially a mature themed Scooby-Doo episode. I loved how when Scooby and the gang find out supernatural beings are real, they have a shift in personalities. They lose their composure, especially Shaggy when he breaks his arm, and he just starts clapping back at them since they never believed him. Honestly, go watch this episode. Even if you've never seen this show, I never watched it. I'm glad this wasn't serious. They just have fun with it. It's wacky, goofy, and so entertaining. Next, Ben 10 Generator Rex crossover episode. I'm just gonna quickly summarize it. It's pretty cut and dry. There's a dimensional rift that appears in Rex's world that brings Ben over. crossover. Of course, not knowing each other, they begin to fight, but it mostly ends in a draw. Later on, we find out that the rift was opened by an entity called Alpha that was created by Rex's brother, Caesar. And the reason Ben was pulled into this world was thanks to his Alter Matrix. Caesar thought he sent Alpha to empty space, but it turns out that the supposed empty space was a null void. Alpha has been looking for a host that won't burn out, so that it's able to survive. It almost succeeds when it takes Rex's Omega Nanite, but obviously Ben and Rex come up with a plan to put a stop to Alpha. Now this episode, I wasn't sure if I should include it, because it's kinda boring, and as cool as this crossover may seem, it made me realize that compared to Ben, Rex is a little lame, which is sad to say. The biggest gripes I had with this episode was 1, the runtime. It did not need to be 2 parts. This definitely would have been better, more entertaining if it was executed properly. I felt like the villain wasn't as big of a threat as they made him out to be. And 2, the first half of the episode was over dramatic and too serious for no reason. Like Rex blames Ben for everything without even hearing him out. But the reason I included it was because I needed to show you how trash Rex is at ball.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this.
Jesus Christ, no fucking yo. So dirt. How do you brick while also hitting a brick wall? I see what they did there, but you see what I'm talking about? They got Ben in this good light. He's looking cool. He's flexing and flaunting his powers. He got a nice fat jumper. Then Rex, also almost forgot. Why the hell do they pronounce Caesar's name like
Caesar.
Honestly, cut the villain, shorten the runtime, and have it just be about Ben and Rex. That would have been more enjoyable. Next episode, the X-Files Cops crossover episode. First off, I highly recommend you go watch this on your own. It's season 7, episode 12. It's on Hulu, or allegedly on other sites. Hands down, this is the best one out of all these, and frankly, it's a top 5 X-Files episode. Even though I only watched 4 episodes in the entire series, I just know it is. It's that good. It's so fucking good that I don't even want to summarize the episode because I don't want to spoil anything for you. I don't want to ruin the ride this episode puts you on, but I will give you a brief description and of course my thoughts on it. So you have Mulder and Scully who get caught up with the LAPD because they so happen to be investigating the same case about some kind of disturbance going on in the neighborhood. One of the officers can't believe what he was attacked by, so he says it was some gangbangers, but Mulder doesn't think that to be true since one of the victims described it looking like a werewolf. The lady that made that 911 call gives a description of the attacker to the sketch artist. Now it might be Freddy Krueger. A few moments later, someone else is attacked. An eyewitness said it was her boyfriend. Mulder and Scully are rolling deep with these officers, going on this wild goose hunt trying to figure out what in the world is going on. Is it a monster, a fictional horror icon, or is it just a crazy boyfriend going on a rampage? You're going to have to find out for yourself. Now the episode, I don't even know where to begin because there's just so much going on here that keeps you entertained and on the edge of your seat. Throughout the whole episode, I was trying to figure out what kind of person or entity they're going up against. Honestly, at a certain point, I thought everyone was on drugs. What is going on? I can't even get, like, is everybody just on drugs? Or hallucinating or something in the air. The thing that really hooked me in this episode was for the majority of it, I felt like I was watching a found footage horror movie. It had tension, it was suspenseful, it felt like at any point something would just jump out and attack. Another thing, the pacing was perfect. There was never a dull moment. There was always something happening. You have all these twists and turns. You're constantly wondering, what is this thing they're chasing? Also, I love how Mulder just fully embraces the live recording for cops. Then Scully is like, get that shit out my face, pussy. What really surprised me though was seeing a black gay couple. Now that might seem like such a minor thing, but that kind of representation back in 1999 is kind of substantial. They were also a nice comedic relief.
Not with me looking like this. Now you should know better than that, Sergeant Paula. I'm ready for my close-up.
Oh, ain't nobody care about your scary ass. That's police business.
Yo, scary ass.
I know that skink ass color anywhere.
Sure do.
Town Streetwalker.
She worked the corner. She on the pipe.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't associate. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
we should make.
but the main thing that was intriguing about this episode,
Stopped it, whatever it was.
why is he standing like that? No. I need to know where either Mulder grew up or where David Duchovny grew up, because this is not normal. This is the stance of someone who's on devious timing. They're up to no good. Overall, hats off to the director, the writers, and whoever came up with the idea of this unbelievable crossover. It just blends and meshes well. Like, this could be its own show, and it's a shame that it's not, because I need a show like this. Again, please go watch this episode. On to next. And finally, Billy and Manny Kids Next Door crossover episode. You have Billy, who while being left home alone decides to put on his dad's lucky pants. As he's dancing being a fool, he falls from the 2nd floor, and somehow Grim's sight gets stuck between his butt cheeks. At first, Billy calls Ed, and Eddie, but Eddie tells him this isn't some charity to call the kids next door for help. So they show up and try to help Billy. Since they aren't able to take off Billy's dad's lucky pants, number 2 suggests they take him to the Deep Sea Lab. So while the team goes to do that, number 1 decides to stay behind and pretends to be Billy. As soon as they leave, Mandy comes over. Wallahi, he's finished. His ass is grass. After being tortured, number 1 tells Mandy everything. With this new information, Mandy sets out on a mission. Meanwhile, the other kids next door took a detour to investigate investigate what the delightful children from down the lane are up to. Yeah, this is when everything goes downhill. Billy ends up fusing with the delightful children to become the delightful Reaper, and they begin to assimilate all the children. Mandy, disguised as number 1, takes over the moon base. She has Grim and the real number 1 locked up, so they don't interfere with her plan for world domination. But she has to take care of Billy first. While they are fighting, number 1 with the help of Grim join the fight. Then while the two of them are fighting, Mandy decides to assimilate with the Reaper and takes full control of it. But Billy's dad, the real hero, steps in to take his goddamn lucky pants back, and he unintentionally saves the world. Now this episode, it's crazy how the runtime for it is 23 minutes, yet there's so much going on here. There's so many things I could talk about and bring up, unlike the Ben 10 Generator X episode. Moving away from that, I need to know where in the hell did Billy's dad get those lucky pants? Because how do you come across a pair of pants that are immune to lasers, supernatural energy, and mustard for some odd reason? Honestly, I need a separate episode just for the history of these lucky pants. I need to know about the magical properties it has. Like, why couldn't Billy and the kids next door take them off? Why did the sight get stuck between his ass? And how was he able to walk around in them? It's crazy when you think about how devious and dangerous Mandy is. Like, she bitched Nigel into telling her all about the kids next door. He's not number 1 after that. Then she somehow deceived everyone on the moon base and took it over. Even when Nigel goes to the base, they still don't believe him. Damn, she really is her. But we pretty much knew that. It's just funny how much she had them discombobulated and shambles. But the real important question is, did she get her ass beat? Yo, what's going on here? Why the fuck is Billy's mom beat up in this photo? You know what? It's none of my business. I gotta stop asking these questions. Oh, I almost forgot. There's a bunch of references and mini crossovers from other Cartoon Network shows. Just a cherry on top. Well, that's all the episodes I want to talk about. I'll definitely make a part 2 to this in the future. Now let me know your thoughts in the comments. Besides Timmy Jimmy, did I miss anything? What's your favorite crossover episode? Or just leave a random comment. So with that, I do hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, share with the fam, your bestie, your neighbor down the street, or who you think might enjoy my content. Other than that, I'm out. Peace.